Yo, what's going on guys? EN77 here. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the evolution of Hog Rider inside of Clash Royale. So, the first deck here is going to be Trifecta. This was the strongest Hog Rider deck back in 2016. It was like, honestly, probably the best by far. There were a few other good Hog decks, like Hog Freeze was pretty decent and stuff, but this deck was definitely the best by far, so I'm going to give it a go here. We are pretty far inside of a grand challenge right here, so it might actually not be very easy to win with this, but it does seem like a decent deck still, even in today's standards. It's actually not too bad of a deck. The only weird thing in this deck compared to normal Hog decks nowadays is that it has Elixir Collector in it, so that's going to make it maybe a little bit awkward for us, but looks like we will be facing E-Golem here, and he actually might not have a big spell in his deck, so Elixir Pump actually might get a ton of value here, which could be pretty nice for us. Alright, Hog gonna get one hit there as well, so yeah. And by the way, guys, I might go over like what I was doing during the years of the decks I share in this video. So like back in 2016, I wasn't even playing Clash Royale very much. I think like maybe in like November or December of 2016, I started playing on an account, and I was kind of just playing the game a little bit casually. I mean, not really casually, but I just wasn't good enough to do anything really, so I was kind of like stuck at probably like 2,000 or 3,000 trophies for a little while, and I eventually did get to 4,000 trophies. I think I got to 4,000 trophies maybe in like early 2017, maybe the end of 2016, but most likely 2017. And yeah, I didn't really play when the poison was super good like it is right now, but or I mean like it was when Trifecta was OP, but I kind of like got into the game right after the OP poison meta, where Hog and Giant were really good. Alright, so we're actually kind of dominating in this first match. Wasn't really going over it too much, but it looks like we're gonna get our third pump right here, so honestly feels like we're playing 3 Musketeers here, but it's actually just gonna be Trifecta, so gonna go in with the poison here just to get a bit of chip damage. The thing is, we don't really have any way to break through. The only kind of downside to this deck is that even though you have like really good defenses and all that stuff, you don't have like the best offense, I feel like, at least in today's standards, because you don't have like the Earthquake to get good chip damage on their towers. You only have like good defense, but you can't really reliably break through with this deck, I feel like. I mean, it kind of depends on what your opponent is playing. And Hog actually will get one hit there, and we're gonna get 4 Elixir Collectors down. Man, maybe this deck is still OP. Alright, so just gonna go with the Hog here. He is gonna go with the E-Golem push, but we forced him to use that Barb Hut there, so he's probably not even gonna be able to make a very big push, having to spend that 7 Elixir right there. It's probably gonna make his push pretty small, so it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with here. And yeah, honestly, this deck has really good defense even nowadays, because like you can easily defend almost any deck in the game using this deck. Like, you can defend golems with like Musketeer Cannon and then like a poison or something. You can defend like Lava Hounds pretty well, so not a too bad deck here. I feel like it's a really good deck against beatdown decks, but maybe not as good against cycle decks, at least with how things are today. But yeah, so we're doing really well here against E-Golem. And yeah, just gonna get a few poisons off. Hopefully we can get like maybe a Hog shot here in a bit. It will be a bit difficult to defend if he tries to make one more big E-Golem push, but it looks like we're going to defend this E-Golem push super easily, and I'm just going to sneak in another Hog here, and we already have 4 Elixir Collectors anyway, so okay, he actually misses the NATO, so that's going to be GG. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be using Hog Mega Knight. Honestly, it was so good back in 2017. It was like one of the most popular decks in all of Clash Royale during that time. Not only like the best Hog deck, but I think it came out in like August 2017 or something during CCGS, and was just so popular back then. And honestly, even nowadays, it's actually not too bad of a deck. It is a bit outdated, I feel like, but if you're to like sub in a few cards, it could actually be a pretty good deck, I feel like, because you have like most of the components that a deck nowadays would have, I feel like. Alright. And yeah, so during this year, I don't like know like a crazy amount of what I was doing, but I was actually like a pretty good Clash Royale player by the time 2017 was over. Like I was I definitely remember like those Pekka decks going around in 2017, like near the end of it, like Pekka and Goblins and Miner and Bandit and all that stuff. And yeah, I do remember this Mega Knight deck as well quite a bit. Um, and yeah, so during 2017, I was kind of like just a bit of an average player, but then I was kind of like raising my trophies slowly. So I was like a decent player, not anything too special, but maybe a bit above average. I guess a bit above average, yeah. So um, eventually I like joined this clan. It was like I forgot the name of it. I think it was like yeah, I don't even remember anymore to be honest. But I joined this clan and then it was like some type of esports clan. I think it was called like Adamiro Esports or something. So it wasn't like anything too official, I guess, but they were just like a clan that was like hosting a bunch of tournaments, in-game tournaments. So I just decided to join it just to get like the possibility of getting some free cards. One, because you know, like tournaments back then were always giving you those nice chests after each I don't know, like after each time you would win one of them. So it was actually pretty good for non-max players to play in them. So I was like playing in them all the time, and I would always get like first in them usually. I remember back then I used to play like Executioner, Furnace, Mirror, Goblin Barrel. It was actually like it sounds like a bit of a crazy deck, but it was actually really meta back then. It was like when Executioner was like first released, I think, and it was just absolutely broken. So yeah, good days to be honest, when Mirror was actually pretty strong. And so yeah, from there I was like winning all those tournaments, and then eventually the leader of the clan kind of noticed me, and then he kind of like, I don't know, like helped me become or like transition into a bit of a better player, and he was like sponsoring some stuff and all that. And then eventually I got my own account to like a decent level, and I was kind of just like starting to win grand challenges. I was also like participating in a bit of esports stuff, nothing special, but just like, you know, the little semi-pro leagues and whatever. So eventually I actually got pretty good after that. And then for a few years I was just like a ladder pusher. I was actually playing just a bunch of random ladder decks at the time. I wasn't really like a one trick or anything. I was playing like a lot of Miner, a lot of even like beatdown decks sometimes, and that was basically 2017 for me. And that's gonna be GG right here. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be using 2.6, so honestly in 2018 there were actually a ton of good Hog decks, like the Hog Mega Knight deck was still really good, Hog Executioner was also really OP I think at some point, and there was also this Hog Lumberjack deck that was pretty popular, but I feel like 2.6 was the best deck. Like in 2018 that was the year where Jack was just dominating everyone with 2.6, so I feel like it definitely was probably the best Hog deck. But I do also think there was like one Hog Ice Wizard deck that was pretty good with like Rocket and Tombstone, but definitely a lot of honorable mentions this year. I guess 2018 might have been one of the best years for Hog Rider, so hard to decide. And yeah, so in 2018 I was actually like becoming quite a good player. I know I already said that in 2017, but in 2018 I became like really kind of a top tier player. Not really like nearly as good as I am now, but like I remember my first top 200 finish was in April of 2018, and I did it using some Balloon Executioner deck with Miner in it, and also had guards as well. Honestly, it was a really fun deck. I kind of miss playing it still, but yeah, that was my first top 200. I think I did get like one other top 200 finish that year, or maybe even more than one other top 200 finish. I also got like top 100, well, top 92 to be specific, using like this weird balloon freeze deck. It was actually like pretty much the same as Anaban's deck. I actually got it off of Anaban, but back in those times I actually used Valkyrie over Pekka, and it had like Ice Wizard and Mega Minion as well. So yeah, I was a pretty big fan of Balloon, and I think in 2018 I also did get a few Golem finishes. I actually used like Golem Bowler. It was actually it sounds really weird right now, but it was actually a really strong deck at one point. Golem Bowler was like actually a pretty good meta deck. And yeah, I also did finish top like 104 or something using a custom Golem deck actually, because I used to like be a player that would just kind of make my own decks, and I still do that sometimes. Like I think I am like pretty much the inventor of Hog EQ with Firecracker in it. It's a really popular deck right now, but one day like one day I was actually just playing ladder normally, then I just faced B-Rat and he used Royal Hog's EQ and I was running Xbow, so I just got kind of annoyed at losing to it. And I noticed that he used Firecracker in the deck, so I just decided to try Firecracker myself, because I thought it could be pretty good with an EQ deck, but instead of going with Royal Hogs, I just wanted to go with normal Hog Rider, and yeah, after I got like the top 15 finish with it, pretty much everybody started using it, so that's kind of how it came to be. But yeah, so in 2018 I also did finish top 200 with some Golem deck. It was like Golem, Inferno, Dragon Guards, Lumberjack. It was something crazy. It didn't even have Night Witch in it, but honestly not like super different from the Golem decks nowadays, but Golem was quite a lot stronger back in those days, to be honest. Like the Mega Minion would get 2 shots on the tower when left alone, and you would also have like quite a lot of better interactions, like the Baby Dragon having more HP and all of that stuff. Alright, so haven't really been talking about this match so far, but it's actually a pretty close game here. Going to be facing Royal Hogs with Earthquake. Honestly, kind of a difficult matchup, but we're actually winning somehow, so maybe if we can keep this up, we should be able to do pretty okay here. Kind of trying to outcycle him here little by little, but it's actually kind of difficult. And yeah, so 2.6 is actually one of the highest skill decks, and also it has been around for probably almost the longest time, to be honest. I think 2.6 was pretty popular in 2017 as well, but just decided to put like the Hog MK deck over it because it was a bit like more meta at the time, I would say. So yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna have to go for like an opposite lane cannon here, yeah, because we wasted our fireball, but as you can see, if you like push it with like an Ice Spirit or Skeletons, you can make it go in the opposite lane even against Royal Hogs. So gonna defend pretty well here, but we do have to be a bit careful because Earthquake does do more damage than Fireball, and it does cost 1 less elixir, so gonna have to see what we can do here. Okay, he's gonna EQ. He might get a bit of Hoggy's chip damage, but I'm just gonna go in with the Hog Rider here. Alright, I'm gonna get another Musk down as well. He's gonna go with Royal Hogs again, but he does actually miss the Earthquake on the cannon, so gonna spam a Hog once again. Hopefully we can break through. Okay, he's gonna have Tesla, but he's gonna place it kind of badly, so okay, Hog gonna get 1 shot here. This is gonna be really close, actually. Alright, I think that's gonna be a win here. GG. Alright, so for 2019 here, we're gonna be using Hog Executioner. So Hog Executioner was just like really broken at this point. Executioner had been like really good before already, but then during 2019 they actually gave the Executioner a huge rework, but honestly it was just like a huge buff. It did like double damage what it does nowadays, and it could like 2-shot a Baby Dragon, I think, so it was just insanely broken, and honestly a pretty fun time as well. I know a lot of people think Executioner is a really toxic card, but I actually enjoy it quite a bit myself, to be honest. Just reminds me of the early days of Clash Royale, so always nice to try it out once in a while. Alright, so yeah, in 2019, I remember my top ladder finish in 2019 was using Lava Clone, actually, of all things. I think in April of 2019, I got like a top 64 finish using Lava Clone. I know a lot of you guys probably aren't expecting this out of me, to be like a low skill player or something, but I'm sorry, and don't hate me after this. But yeah, it was like honestly 2019 was like kind of the last year where I was just like playing those random decks, because after, or like more like during mid 2019, I kind of decided to pick up Xbow, and I was maining Xbow from there, and I was pretty much maining Xbow for like a little while, and I wasn't like too good at it, but I think I may have got like a top 200 finish with Xbow in 2019, and yeah, I probably got like a couple top 200 finishes in 2019 with Xbow, but at first I was running Lava Clone, and I was kind of just using whatever was meta, but yeah, back then Lava Clone was so good. I don't really know like what the meta was like specifically in 2019. I think it was like pretty diverse, but it was pretty diverse, I feel like, until the Executioner buff came about, because then Night Witch was also super OP, if I remember correctly. I think, like, Elixir Golem was also very broken, and was a bit of a toxic meta, but honestly kind of fun, though. I always loved playing with that broken Executioner, so was pretty fun. Even though Elixir Golem was super OP, I feel like Executioner was a really good counter to it, so it kind of balanced itself out a bit. And yeah, and honestly, guys, the nice thing about this deck that I'm showing right here is that it's actually still viable today. Was probably the best Hog deck of 2019. Honestly, did have a few other Hog decks kind of competing with it. I feel like 2.6 was pretty okay, and I think like Hog EQ was just starting to come about in 2019. Some people did use Earthquake in this deck over Rocket, and maybe like Knight over Valkyrie, but I feel like this was the most consistent version, so just gonna share it here. And yeah, so alright, so this first match is actually going pretty well here. Wasn't really talking about it at all, but we actually activated our King Tower really early on, so we're actually in a pretty good spot right here. And yeah, the nice thing about this deck is that there's so many possibilities to get a King activation off when you have like Ice Spirit plus Tornado. You can even like activate your King Tower versus a Balloon and take 0 shots when you use Ice Spirit plus Tornado against it. So yeah, quite a high skill deck here. Even though like it's not like insanely hard to play Executioner Hog, it's like a little bit difficult to play this specific version right now, because you have to like play player cards like really differently than you would for most of the meta decks. So I feel like it's a pretty high skill deck right now, because even though I don't know, it's like not a too bad deck or anything, but it's like it has like a really different play style from most of the other decks in the game right now, and especially because it's not the strongest deck or something, it's played really differently from other decks. So honestly, I don't really recommend you play this deck unless you're as good as Viper, at least. So I guess you could play it if you get like a good amount of practice, but you definitely won't be able to pick it up right away. But once you do pick it up, it can be one of the best decks in the game, at least for Viper. But yeah, that's gonna be GG. Alright, hopping in the next deck here, we're going to be using Hog Earthquake. So this was actually the first Hog EQ deck that was invented in Clash Royale. I mean, pretty sure this deck became meta pretty much on the release of Earthquake. I was actually one of the first people to play Hog Earthquake as well. Maybe not like one of the first, but I was like one of the first people to play this version of Hog Earthquake, which was kind of the meta back in mid 2019 to early 2020. So honestly, you could also say that Hog EQ with Musketeer was the best Hog EQ deck of 2020, but just decided to include this deck since I couldn't include it in 2019. I'm pretty sure it was still quite good even in 2020 as well, at least during the early parts of it. So yeah, definitely a really solid deck. So in 2020, I was actually like a really good Xbow player. I did finish like top 10 with Xbow towards the end of 2020, but I did get like some top global tournament finishes. I think I got like a few top 10 global tournament finishes using this deck, so definitely a really solid deck, and it's really nice to have the Inferno Tower in it as well, so you can beat those lava decks really easily. And yeah, honestly, even by today's standards, this deck isn't actually too bad. Like, you can actually have a good amount of success with it, especially like depending on your trophy range, because Inferno Tower can be really good for some people, especially to like counter those golem decks and those. Honestly, it's pretty good against Mega Knight decks too, so you can also counter that. I'm not sure if that Mega Knight will actually go for the Inferno Tower. Looks like it doesn't go for the Inferno Tower, but I didn't really want to waste my skeletons there because I kind of want to just save it for the Prince. So gonna even the damage out on both sides, but we're looking pretty good right here. And yeah, so during 2020, I was pretty much just one-tricking Xbow all year. Not like too much to say about it. I think I got like 8 top 50 finishes with Xbow during 2020, but I was always pretty good at those cycle decks in general, including Hog Earthquake. So yeah. Alright, Hog gonna get one shot there. Pretty nice stuff here. Alright, so yeah, I haven't really been talking too much about the games, but surprisingly we're actually winning pretty much every game using these really old Hog decks, so I guess they're actually still quite good. You could see even Trifecta can still have its uses even in today's meta, even though it's really outdated, I feel like, but it does still have like the key components you need for defense, so it's actually not too bad of a deck even today. But if you guys ever try like Trifecta or something, I would recommend probably subbing out Elixir Collector for something else. But besides that, it's actually a pretty decent deck, and this Hog EQ deck's really good as well, depending on you, honestly, like depending where you're at in trophies, but definitely some of you could probably give it a try and have some good success with it. Alright, hopping in the best Hog deck of 2021, we're going to be going in with Hog EQ Firecracker here. I do feel like it's a bit better with Ice Spirit right now than Fire Spirit, but some of my best finishes with Hog EQ are with Fire Spirit, so I'm going to include it because I feel like it was overall the best of 2021. And yeah, so during like the early parts of 2021, I was still like one-tricking Xbow because I did get like the top 10 finish with it pretty, you know, like my top 10 finish with it was still pretty recent, so I was feeling really good about Xbow, but honestly, like, the start of 2021 was like a really tragic time for a lot of us because Xbow got nerfed, so yeah, I didn't really want to play Xbow anymore because I had like a few good seasons with Xbow even after the nerf, but I was like finding that even some of the best Xbow players were barely finishing inside of the top 50 even like when they were, I don't know, like playing really well and doing their best on ladder, but didn't feel like enough for me. I always wanted to be like top 10, and that's what would make me feel good about my performance, because I always wanted to do better than I did the previous season. So eventually I decided to switch to Hog EQ, and I already told you guys the story of how I made the deck after losing to B-Rad when I was playing with Xbow, and pretty much the first season I used Hog EQ, I got a top 15 finish. I didn't really have any experience with Hog EQ before that season. I was like playing the Hog EQ Musketeer deck occasionally when I was like tilted on ladder with Xbow, but pretty much always was just playing Xbow, so it was a bit of a change up for me. But honestly, I was able to learn it really well, I feel like, because the kind of like the elements of defense between Hog EQ and Xbow are actually not like too different. Like you kind of like want to Tesla stack in both decks. You kind of want to get like the similar placements in both decks on defense especially, and took like quite a while to learn Hog EQ perfectly, but ever since the start I was like always finishing super well with it. Like my first season with Hog EQ, I got top 15, and then my second season I got top 4 with it, so I was doing really well just all the way from the get-go. So I knew I wanted to like try to main this deck, and yeah, I had a ton of success with it and became quite a popular deck as well. But in the recent months it has seen like a bit of a decline, I feel like, but that's honestly just because of how broken Archer Queen is. But this deck is definitely still usable even to this day. And yeah, I feel like once Archer Queen gets a nerf, and I'm pretty sure Archer Queen will get a nerf pretty soon, but once it does get a nerf, I'm sure that people will be running this deck once again quite a lot. Definitely still quite a good deck, and might even make like a top ladder video on it pretty soon here. Alright, so in this match here, we're actually going to be up against Splash Yard, which is one of the hardest matchups. One of the most memorable moments of 2021 for me was beating Mugi in a Splash Yard versus Hog EQ matchup for my top 4 finish. And yeah, it was actually like a super close game, or maybe not like super close, but it was just like really intense, and pretty much everyone was screaming. So it was just like a really memorable thing, and I actually did end up winning by a little bit. Sorry for the stutter there, by the way, guys, but yeah, I did end up winning that game, so I was really happy about that, and that's gonna be Hog EQ for 2021. Alright, hopping into 2022 here, we're going to be using Hog EQ with Archer Queen. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say what the best Hog deck of 2022 will be, since we haven't really seen much of 2022 yet. We're pretty much like just starting into this year, so can't really say exactly, but this queen deck with Hog is definitely super strong, so I'm kind of comfortable putting it here, even though it's like super early in the year. And yeah, so Even though I feel like Queen might get nerfed pretty soon, I feel like it's still pretty safe to use this deck as the best deck of 20, or the best Hog deck of 2022, because it's just so broken right now. So, yeah, it feels pretty justified to be putting it there. All right, so yeah, I don't have like much of a story for 2022 yet, because I'm pretty much just starting in 2022, but I will say that like 2022 has been really nice for my YouTube channel. I was already uploading some of my games on YouTube in 2020, but I mean in 2021, but it was like pretty much the end of 2021 by the time I started uploading on YouTube. So in 2022, that's when I got most of my success here on YouTube, and hope to continue it for a long time to come as well. So gonna see what 2022 has in store for us. Alright, so we're going to be up against Pekka here, so should be a solid matchup. Haven't really talked about matchups so much recently in these few games here. Mainly just like focusing on like kind of reliving the experiences I had during those years, but yeah, always fun to face Pekka when you're running Hog EQ. The nice thing about Hog EQ is that you do have like quite a lot of free matchups. I feel like when you go against like something like Pekka or something, you kind of always know that if you play well enough, you're gonna win. And the reason I decided to like stick with Hog EQ as my main ladder deck for this long was because I feel like it's such a nice deck for outplaying your opponents. Like no matter what the matchup is, I always know I have a chance to win with Hog EQ if I play well enough. So that's just why I love it so much and have stuck to it. Alright. And yeah, it's kind of also like just the power of Earthquake. Like I feel like the Hog itself isn't even that good right now. It's just like how broken Earthquake can be that's kind of like the reason why this deck can be really good, I feel like. Because like if you look at Hog in general, it's actually not too good right now. Like the only reason some people, at least competitively, most people don't really think Hog EQ is that good, but then when or they don't think like Hog is that good, but then when they look at Hog EQ, they just say how broken it is. So I feel like a lot of people just think Hog is super good right now because of how good it is with Earthquake. So Earthquake definitely plays a big role into why Hog is really strong right now in this meta, and just like in recent years. And that's gonna be GG. So thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.